Now we are going to talk about Newton's universal law of gravitation, or Newton's law of gravitation, or it is also famously called inverse square law. Inverse square law. So instead of directly giving or knowing what the law is, it is also better to understand like how did Newton guess it? How did Newton even come to know that the force between two masses is inversely proportional to the square of the distance? So that discussion is so beautiful, and I'm going to ask you to remember or refresh your memory that suppose if there was a center, and if you tie any object and make the object to move in a circle, you know that the velocity of the object is along the tangent, and the distance of the object from the center is equal to radius. This is what we call radius. If the speed of rotation, velocity has got a direction, but the speed means the speed with which it goes around. If that speed is v and this distance is r and the particle that goes around the circle is m, we know that there is a force that is acting on the particle toward the center. That force we call centripetal force. We know that the magnitude of the centripetal force is equal to mv square by r. So this is the force on a particle that moves in a circle that we had studied in kinematics itself. But then how did Newton guess it, and what is the relation between this and that? Although we say that the planets are going around the sun in an elliptical orbit, that ellipse we call that eccentricity. So how much of an eccentricity? Suppose if a planet revolves like this is more like ellipse. If a planet revolve like this, so it deviates from ellipse and slowly approximating the circle. So assuming that all the planets are almost going in circular orbit around the sun, it was just an approximation and yet it works, right? So all the planets are going around the sun in an approximate circular orbit, and the force acting on the planet is equal to mv square by r. So we can say that the force on the planet is a centripetal force, and if you take m as a constant, if you remove the constant, you will end up having a proportionality. Force is proportional to v square by r. Now we need to go back about 100 years before Newton was born. Like in 1643, Newton was born in the month of January. This is when Newton was born. But then before him in 1546, there was a scientist called Tycho Brahe. And with him, a person who was born in the year 1571 was Kepler. Kepler was a student of Tycho Brahe, and Tycho Brahe is a very good bookkeeper. That means that 20 plus years, and Tycho Brahe actually kept the positions of the planet in the sky. And Johannes Kepler, who joined Tycho Brahe as a student and got hold of the book that recorded all the data regarding the positions of the planet in the night sky. And Kepler worked out three famous laws known as Kepler's law of planetary motion, 3 laws. So like Newton, Kepler also got to know about 3 laws. One is that all the planets go approximately in a elliptical orbit. That is law number 1. Law number 2 is if in the elliptical orbit, at one point the planet comes closer to the sun, at another point it goes further from the sun. And he said that whenever the planet comes closer to the sun, it moves faster. Whenever it moves furthest from the sun, it moves slower. That was the second law. One is about the shape of the orbit, which is elliptical, and the second is about the speed of the orbit, and that is called law of areas, that we will see why it is an area. So that In future, we will discuss about it. That is beyond the scope of our discussion here. And the third is, most importantly, suppose if r is the distance of the planet from the sun. Suppose this is the sun and this is the planet, and the distance of the sun from the planet or distance of the planet from the sun is r, and the speed of the planet is v, and time taken by the planet to go around the sun once is called time period. Suppose if you take earth, the time period of the earth around the sun is 365 days. That means 365.25 days. That means the time taken for one complete revolution. Time taken for one complete revolution. Now Newton is going to connect a lot of things. But here the third Kepler law. This is actually third Kepler's law. Third Kepler's law actually says that the square of the time period to cube of the radius is constant for all the planets. Suppose if you find 365.25 whole square divided by 15 crore kilometers whole cube, because distance of the earth from the sun is 15 crore kilometer whole cube, and this is 365.25 whole square. If you calculate this, whatever value comes, that is going to be the same for Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, Mars, everything. So that is a constant. So we know that all the planets are going around the sun because of the strong attractive force exerted by the sun on the planet, or we can say that it's a mutual attraction. So like sun exerts a force on the planet, in the same fashion the planet also exerts force on the sun. So all the planet goes around the sun because of mutual attraction. So now it started, the basic started in 1546, around 97 years, or we can say that almost 100 years ago. Tycho Brahe was born, and he was a fanatic, and he literally kept the positions for about 20 plus years in his book. And then came Kepler. He joined Tycho Brahe and he figured out what the data really means. He was just keeping the data, and it was Kepler who broke the code. Actually, he said, he summarized all the 20 years data into three laws: law of orbits, law of areas, and law of time periods. Now, it was Kepler's third law that helped Newton to arrive at universal law of gravitation. How is that? Let us look at this scenario here. So the planet is going around the sun in an elliptical orbit, or approximately a circular orbit. We know that force on the planet is proportional to v square by r. And what Kepler said, t square by r cube is a constant, means the reciprocal is also a constant. So that means r cube by t square is a constant. Okay, now let us come to this understanding. For one complete revolution, if the radius is r, that distance traveled in one complete revolution is the circumference of the circle. If the orbital radius is r, then the circumference is 2 pi r. Suppose we know that speed is equal to distance by time. Speed is equal to, I am not saying velocity here, speed is equal to distance by time. Here, if the distance is time period, if the time is time period means time taken for one complete revolution. The time taken for one complete revolution is t. In the time, this goes around once for a distance of 2 pi r. Then speed is equal to distance by time, means speed is equal to, speed is nothing but v. V is equal to, distance is 2 pi r divided by t. But here v square by r, and here speed is equal to r by t. So here, if you want to know about the force, we need to substitute for v square. So, but through this, we know that speed is equal to 2 pi r by t. Speed is equal to 2 pi. 2 pi is a constant. If you take out the constant, speed is proportional to r by time period. Now, you take a square. When you square this, v square is proportional to r square by t square. Now multiply and divide by r, you will get v square is proportional to r square into r is r cube divided by t square into r. But according to Kepler's third law, t square by r cube or r cube by t square is a constant. So this is a constant. When you remove that constant, v square is proportional to this constant. Let us call the constant c divided by r. And if you remove this constant also, v square is inversely proportional to r. V square is inversely proportional to r. Now, in place of v square, if you substitute this, either you can substitute this as some constant by r or inversely proportional to r. So, force on the planet is inversely proportional to v square is 1 by r, proportional to 1 by r by r. So, force on the planet is inversely proportional to 1 by r square. Wow, we got this because it's a square of the distance. So the force on the planet. Who is exerting force on the planet? It's a mutual attraction, but the sun is exerting a force on the planet. Or the mutual attractive force between the sun and the planet is inversely proportional to r square. And it is not very difficult to guess that the greater the mass, greater will be the force, because sun is in the solar system, sun is the largest and the heaviest. Hence, it exerts more force. Hence, the force of attraction between a sun and the planet. Suppose this is the sun and this is a planet, and the distance from the center of the sun to the center of the planet is r. If that is the case, let me use a different color here. So the distance from the center of the sun to the center of the planet is r. If the mass of the sun is m1 and mass of the planet is m2. So if m1 is greater or m2 is greater, whichever is greater, accordingly the force will also increase. So the force of attraction, the force of mutual attraction between the sun and the planet is directly proportional to the product of m1, m2. From Kepler's third law, he also derived force on the planet is inversely proportional to 1 by r square. And so, combining these two, force between the sun and the planet is directly proportional to m1, m2 by r square. And later on, Henry Cavendish calculated the proportionality constant here, and that constant here, force between the sun and the planet, is equal to the universal gravitational constant G into mass of the sun into mass of the planet divided by r square. And later it turns out to be that a case between any two masses, if it is mass 1 and mass 2, the force of attraction between any two masses is directly proportional to product of the masses and inversely proportional to square of the distance. And this is called Newton's universal law of gravitation. This Newton's universal law of gravitation is actually calculating the force between any two masses. And here G assumes a special significance here, because the value of G is very less. And that is the reason why the force between two lighter masses are not appreciable, because the constant G has a value of 6.67 into 10 power minus 11. That means 0.00000000667. So such a small value reduces the force between two masses. So the masses have to be of the order of 10 power 20, 10 power 25 kilogram, so that the force between them is measurable and appreciable. So it goes out like this. So even Newton himself admitted that on the shoulders of giants, because when Newton was once asked, because Newton was considered one of the kind of original genius, because his work is purely kind of so new to a given domain. He was also a great mathematician, and he invented a separate mathematical branch called calculus. So Newton was credited with so many original discoveries and inventions. And here in this case, when Newton was once asked, how could you get your hands on such kind of original inventions and discoveries, and Newton very humbly said that it were not for the giants who discovered things even before me, I wouldn't have been able to see further. So that was the reply given by Newton in this case. So, and finally, because this particular thing, the square of the time period to the cube of the orbital radius is a constant, or in other words, cube of the radius to the square of the time period is constant, and Newton arrived at this thing, the square of the velocity or the square of the speed is inversely proportional to r. And later he discovered that the force of attraction between the sun and the planet, or in that case force between any two masses, is inversely proportional to r square. And it was not very difficult to guess that force is directly proportional to product of their masses. And finally, we have got Newton's universal law of gravitation, which is also very famously called Newton's inverse square law. Newton's inverse square law. So force between two masses separated by a distance r. When you calculate the distance, it should be between the center of the first mass to the center of the second mass. Center of mass of the first mass to the center of mass of the second mass. That's how it should be calculated. Now let us also calculate the unit of this. If you keep g here, bring everything on the other side, what you will get here? G. When this r goes here, f r square, m1 m2 will come to this side to the denominator, which is equal to g. Then f is measured in Newton, r is a distance, so it is measured in meter, r square, the unit of r square is meter square, by m1 is mass 1, m2 is mass 2. This is measured in kilogram, this is also measured in kilogram. Kilogram into kilogram here is kilogram square. So it is the unit of gravitational constant g is Newton meter square per kilogram square. Newton meter square per kilogram square. So the value of universal gravitational constant is 6.67 into 10 power minus 11 into Newton meter square per kilogram square. When kilogram square goes up, it becomes kilogram power minus 2. So universal gravitational constant is a dimensional constant. I'll tell you what it is. Dimensional constant. Dimensional constant. What is dimensional constant? A constant that has units are called dimensional constants. There are two kinds of constants. Some constants do not have unit, they are dimensionless constants. Some constants have units, they are dimensional constants. So Newton's and here universal gravitational constant is a dimensional constant because its unit is Newton meter square per kilogram square. The value of universal gravitational constant is 6.67 into 10 power minus 11 and its unit is Newton meter square per kilogram square. Because this constant has a unit, it is called dimensional constant. And you see, it was a so beautiful kind of reasoning, because it gave a hint. The apple fell. When the apple fell, it accelerates. Then he thought any planet going around the sun is also moving in circle, means it is experiencing centripetal force, and hence it is, if there is a force, there is acceleration. Then any planet revolving around is experiencing acceleration. What is the acceleration of the apple? And according to the distance, the same will be according to distance, that acceleration will change. And Newton, to his credit, he calculated precisely and he was able to relate the acceleration of the falling object to the acceleration of the moon around the earth. So it was so beautiful to arrive at this relation through Newton's method of reasoning. So happy learning.